Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Monday, May 4th, 2024 Commissioners meeting. As you know, we have someone here normally for invocation and pledge of allegiance. We don't have anyone here this night. Would any of the commissioners like to do our invocation this evening?
I'd be happy to.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Heavenly Father, we do thank you for yet another glorious opportunity to meet as the commissioners of Currituck County. Father, I pray that you would grant each and every one of us wisdom as we discuss one of the most pressing issues this county has ever faced, and that is what to do as far as opening our doors and welcoming our visitors. Father, help us to keep mindful of what makes this county special, the fact that we are born out of a can-do, will-do mentality and attitude. Father, and out of a spirit of gratefulness, we are thankful for those that come and visit us, Lord, and we ask wisdom going forth, Father, that you would encourage each and every one of us, Lord, to really press in and understand what is in the best interest of our county. And Father, we pray protection over those that are the most vulnerable to this virus, and Lord, I ask that you would protect them and keep them safe. Lord, bless this meeting in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. All right. Anyone need any changes to the agenda tonight? Wish to approve?
I believe, Mr. Chair, do we have to, on the public hearings, do we have to remove that at this point, or are we going to,
When it comes up,
we'll discuss it then?
yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Would you like to approve the agenda? Number two, approve?
With that saying, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second it.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Next up, we have public comment. We have emailed comments in this evening, and our clerk of court, Ms. Leanne Walton, will be reading those in this evening. Good
Thank
evening,
you,
ma'am.
Mr. Chairman. We received 13 public comments that were asked to be read during the May 4th meeting of the board. So I'm just reading them in the order that they were received. And the first one is from John Cardamus. And he says, "Hello, commissioners. I wanted to share a few screenshots, which I can share with you later. I'll forward the email to you. From my family's vacation group messenger chat just last evening. We've been vacationing to the Outer Banks nearly every year since I was 2 years old. Having a family of my own now, all of my siblings and their families come together and rent a beach home each year. It's the highlight of our year. Following the data from this pandemic and seeing the actions of places like Florida and South Carolina with reopening, it's been unfortunate seeing the response that Dare County has taken. I'm aware there is a meeting taking place on May 4th, and I wanted to share this with you to perhaps share with other board members in consideration with opening up to visitors. Simply put, if OBX stays shut down, another place like Myrtle Beach will gain that business. It breaks my heart because we are some of the Outer Banks' biggest fans. However, seeing the attitudes that have come from the residents, such as posting hateful notes on out-of-state vehicles and commenting that outsiders are not welcome, is, in my opinion, one of the most un-American things I've ever seen. Since when did the people of our country turn so hateful against one another in time of adversity? This is an opportunity that is so crucial for us to come together and help one another out. Obviously, there needs to be precautions taken. Let's get a little creative with how we can come to a compromise without just completely saying no guests. This is so harmful, not just for an economy, but for people's livelihoods and families. We as a country have to be able to trust our neighbors. If we cannot, then how do we move forward with any sort of future? In the words of Maddie Stepanek, unity is strength. When there's teamwork and collaboration, wonderful things can be achieved. The way we get through this is by unifying, not pushing others away. Thank you for your time and consideration to my testimony. I hope it helps in opening minds with moving forward. I look forward to the possibility of visiting the beautiful OBX beaches this month." Next, this one comes from Cameron Reese. To whom it may concern, I would like to implore you to open the county to visitors as soon as possible, for the sake of the economy, the sake of the small businesses, and for the sake of the community. There are ways to allow visitor access without opening the entire area up to everyone. You can still have a checkpoint on the bridge, just have the visitors show their rental agreements. You can also have them bring their own groceries. There are many hospitals and care centers outside of the county that visitors would be willing to travel to in case of emergency. The quarantine can still continue with visitors still being allowed access to their rental properties by continuing the precaution measures and only leaving when absolutely necessary. Please do not let Dare County dictate the livelihood of Currituck's future. Thank you. The next one is from Barbara Heffernan, and she's, I believe, a full-time resident in Corolla. While I do not disagree with the decision to allow our non-resident property owners to re-enter Corolla, I wish now to convey a very serious concern and request. Today I was required to visit our wonderful Ace Hardware store to pick up an essential item. After entering the store, I was shocked by the number of customers without face coverings. All of the employees were wearing face coverings, and the gentleman helping me wore gloves. We conducted our business with the physical distancing required. This was not the case with over half of the customers, those without face coverings, who repeatedly violated the special requirement. On more than one occasion, I was forced to ask a customer without a covered face to move away from me. In response, I was met with rude comments, including one that directed me to get a life. I can tell you that the employees at Ace Hardware were not comfortable with encountering the many, many customers without face coverings. I hope that a decision will be made during your meeting on Monday for the well-being of all that requires face coverings in public spaces. Thank you and stay well. This next one is from Jackie McKenzie. And she wrote, in regards to openings of businesses in OBX, 1, please insist everyone going into a store wear a face covering. 2, all stores monitor a 6 feet of separation space. 3, do not exceed the number of customers allowed into a store without observing this. 4, supermarkets have special time for seniors and those with other medical issues. And 5, supermarkets not allow more than one person with a shopping cart, except a parent with other small children or helping a handicapped person. Hope this helps you in making decisions on the slow reentry until a vaccine is found. Sincerely, Jacqueline McKenzie. The next is from Nancy Condash. Just a few homeowners have come in since they were allowed, and since then there are 2 new cases in Dare and 2 new in Currituck in just a few days. There will most likely be a huge uptick in cases when we start getting visitors in. Then what? Shut down our counties again and miss the whole summer? Wait until the hot weather begins and the virus can't survive. It is much too soon now. Work with Dare County this time. Don't just think of the money your businesses will be losing. Think of the lives you will be saving. Next is from Grace Thies, and I hope I'm pronouncing most of these names correctly. Currituck County officials. I have paid in full for a family trip to Corolla while given 0 guarantee of when the county will reopen. This is a trip that my family is still very much hoping to take. Even though guidance on reopening has remained uncertain, local businesses are essentially extorting visiting families, forcing the payment of full costs of services without any guarantee they will be able to visit. It's unreasonable to continue to shift the date without extended advanced notice, and considering this fast approaching vacation date, we would like a concrete answer of when Currituck is reopening for visitors. And that's signed Hopeful Visitor. The next one is from Paula Klima, or Klima. Thank you for your leadership during this time of uncertainty, and thank you for keeping in mind that most adults who hope to visit what is a predominantly family-friendly vacation destination are responsible parents and grandparents. We understand the risks involved during this time of COVID-19. This virus, without a vaccine, is going to be with us for a while, and we need to move forward in a responsible way, adhering to the guidelines involving social distancing and the wearing of masks when requested or required in public. But we cannot continue to be isolated in our homes and keep businesses closed. It's time to open things up in a responsible manner and to trust each other. The next one is from Alan Thomas, and he writes several quick comments. I am very disappointed in your changing your opening date to guests from May 15th to align with DARE, which was done behind closed doors after the previous commissioners' meeting. We need you to look after the people that pay taxes to Currituck and not be bullied by your friends on the DARE commission. It seems that Bob White had a deal with DARE prior to the previous meeting, which clearly did not sit well with other commissioners in a public setting, so they modified their public opinion only to let Bob and maybe others to cut their deal. How many commissioners, their families and friends, are finding a way to rent their homes against the current orders, while most of us are losing our rents? This deserves an investigation and public, transparent sharing of this information, as many of you are VRBO, Vacation Rental by Owner. I ask you again to open Currituck on the Outer Banks, as it is not your job to decide how much time non-resident property owners need to open their homes. Your adverse actions against non-resident property owners and their guests are also hurting the local businesses that are important to their families and their livelihood. Should the non-resident property owners in the county in the OBX petition to become part of DARE, since you do not seem to care or represent us fairly? Thank you, Alan Thomas. The next one is from Edward Ponton. Good day. I have two thoughts, the lesser, but perhaps the easier one to act quickly on to come first. Typically this time of year, county staff, often with the assistance of the Sheriff's Department and sometimes with an inmate workforce detail, completes work and repairs on signage along the Currituck banks. I implore you to consider replacing the mile markers from the North Beach access ramp to the Virginia line. They really should be replaced along the entirety of the 24 miles of beach, but especially north of the ramp. These mile markers are very important for our visitors and many property and homeowners to find their homes. The mile markers are of greater importance for those attempting to report emergencies. Originally, these markers were of good quality and lasted for some time. There has never been more than a half-hearted effort to replace them, a couple being replaced here and there and a few not being put in their correct spot, or some were much smaller in size. Please work with the staff to get this done before the season gets going. I even think of the fire that occurred in Swan Beach this morning. It's hard to miss a house fire on the beach, but perhaps it would have been helpful for someone coming to assist that are not as familiar with the area. For example, take the ramp at milepost 16 or take the ramp at milepost 16 and a half, as would have been the case this morning. I know those roads as Eagle Lane and Canary Lane, but I've lived here all of my life. Most driving the fire trucks and police vehicles do not. It's an easy win. I have shared this with county staff previously, and it never seems to go anywhere. It is something that should be kept up with and replaced every spring. Now is a perfect time. For my second thought, access. I'm very hopeful for access to be opened up as soon as safely possible. I'm thinking the weekend of May 23rd would be a good opportunity if that falls in line with Governor Cooper. I know some would like to wait for the weekend of the 29th, but I don't see the health benefit of 1 week. I do, however, see the devastating economic impact of 1 week. I'm sure you all are more than aware, but the loss of that 1 week will have devastating effects on local businesses, as it may be the point many do not survive. In making this decision, it is important to be data-driven and not fall into just a free-for-all discussion with the appearance of dissolving into just pure opinion. The last meeting felt like that, and I believe it was part of the frustration folks had with it. Please talk about your conversations with Albemarle Regional Health, etc. But I think you all know that for all of us in Currituck County, we worry more about the large systems in Hampton Roads, of which we are, for intents and purposes, a part of. I would be much more concerned with the condition of Centerra than I would with the Vidant system if any sort of outbreak were to occur here. I realize these are tough conversations. I don't want to see anyone get sick or die. I had a coworker in his 20s lose his father to this virus just 2 weeks ago. It is a real thing. Economic impact and simple isolation is also a real problem to look at. How long can society take this before it starts to break down? I shudder at the thoughts of what domestic abuse, suicide, depression, and violent crime stats are right now. You will face criticism no matter what decisions are made, which is part of public service. If you do not talk about the balance between health and safety, conversations with health systems, as well as economic and societal impacts when you come to your decisions, then perhaps that criticism is well deserved. I implore you to not pretend to be experts, doctors, economists, etc. Please use your staff well and let them plan out what can work. I sure hope we can open up within these next few weeks, or the impact will truly be devastating locally. I just have 3 more lines. One more thought while I have your attention, if you've read this far. What is up with the police checkpoint in Pine Island? What a tremendous waste of resources. It makes absolutely no sense to have it. I'm not sure if that is a BOC thing, county staff, or a sheriff's department idea, but it isn't a good one. Thanks for your leadership and service to Currituck County. And again, that was from Ed Ponton. This one is from Joseph Miller. Board of Commissioners, we are supposed to be renting a house the week of May 17th. Our rental will contain 22 people from Massachusetts, New Jersey, and Ohio. If you take our planned visit and multiply it by the 1,000 plus properties in Currituck/Duck region of the Outer Banks, the low-end estimate is 25,000 plus people will be there the week of May 18th. Most with no test for the virus. I've been tracking my local announcements and ones from North Carolina. With stay-at-home orders in place, most businesses closed, and now a serious food meat shortage opening up on the Outer Banks to tens of thousands of tourists, growing to 100,000 in a short period of time, is a recipe for disaster in a short period. Tourists are not and cannot bring a week's supply of food. We have limits locally, so we and the thousands of other renters will be utilizing the local food stores immediately, not what North Carolina or tourist industry need the first weeks of opening up. Before the North Carolina and the Outer Banks open up for tourists, your best Phase 1 path is opening for local residents for a 14 to 21 day period to see how that goes. To open up for your own state residents on top of tens of thousands of tourists who will be buying all they need immediately on the first week the state may open up will not work. The supply chain for all place need to build up. Shortage will continue for weeks and months. To immediately stress local business, emergency agency, and business instead of a phased approach will create immediate issue of supplies, food, and bring in virus potential you're not able to test for, given the volume of people opening the entire Outer Banks will create when places have been closed for an extended period. Phase your opening by lifting the stay-at-home order. Let residents have their freedom to see how things work for a few weeks, then phase in the Outer Banks tourists after Memorial Day. That is best for North Carolina and the Outer Banks industry. The next one is from Michael McGough, and he asks, is there a date planned to announce when visitors will be allowed back into Currituck County? Is there any concern that Currituck County will not be able to agree on a date to allow visitors back that will satisfy the overly cautious Dare County while still protecting the needs of the businesses and the people of Currituck County? Thanks. The next one is from Thomas Hudak. Commissioners, ultimately, a coordinated decision will be made to allow access to Corolla and four-wheel drive area for visitors. In so doing, maintaining social distancing will be paramount for the safety and well-being of all. What provisions will be made to limit the number of day trippers who frequently access the off-road beach area? And that's Tom Hudak. The next is Judy Oliver. Good morning. Hope you all are well. As non-resident homeowners in Corolla, my husband and I want to thank you for making the decision to allow us to access our home and prepare it for the 2020 rental season, which we hope will begin soon. My husband's business is struggling due to COVID-19, and we are relying on our rental income more than ever this year. Our primary home is in Maryland, and on March 23rd, our governor took steps to protect our health by issuing a stay-at-home order. Following this directive, my family and I have literally not left our house except to go to the grocery store. Even then, we've worn masks, used hand sanitizer, practiced social distancing, etc., to keep ourselves and others safe. When we arrived in OBX on April 24th, we were glad to see highway signs instructing us to keep our windows rolled up as we approached the Wright Memorial Bridge checkpoint. However, we were surprised that the maskless, gloveless officer not only asked us to roll down our window, but reached for and handled our property pass. We left that checkpoint feeling exposed, immediately used our Clorox wipes, and discussed the situation while traveling through Duck. As we approached the next checkpoint, we immediately put on our masks and were pleasantly surprised that this officer was wearing a mask and did not ask us to roll down our window. Kudos to Currituck County Sheriff's Department. Thank you again for allowing us back, and please stay safe. And that was from Judy and Chris from Corolla. And that was the last one.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that. All right. Next up tonight is the Commissioner's Report. Commissioner Payment, would you like to kick it off?
I will. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick little update. I just received this afternoon from the Albemarle Regional Health, and just thought I'd share it to the audience out there. As of today, from our region, we had a total of 165 lab-confirmed cases. 51 of them are active. 108 have recovered, and we had 6 deaths. In Currituck County, there was 5 confirmed cases. Only 1 is currently active, and 4 of those 5 have fully recovered. And per conversations with Albemarle Regional Health, what is expected is as counties, states, federal, they start doing more of the antibody testing, it's probably going to be discovered that a lot more people have had this virus early on in the year and have recovered and didn't even know they had it. So right now, you can expect probably as they do the testing, you're going to see numbers go up of people who have had it, but they're going to be fully recovered. So this has probably been going on for a long time and nobody's even known about it. So just a quick little update on where we're at as a region and locally here. And that's pretty much all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Etheridge?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The last several weeks have been trying times for Currituck citizens, property owners, and believe it or not, us commissioners. Some people are happy with their commissioners when they do this or that, and some people are not happy with them when they do the same thing. But however you feel about us, we are doing our very best, and we are all concerned about our county and the people we love. We are aware that many of our citizens' income directly depends on tourism. We are aware our citizens are suffering, and we are aware that we need to help. But how? So I called a couple of my friends and I have just been worried sick for the last couple of days, wondering what in the world we can do to help the people here in Currituck County.
I know there are so many people struggling because of this coronavirus, and it just worries me what we can do. I've had a lot of people ask.
Yeah, I think people want to help. Did y'all hear something?
What was that?
I don't know.
Oh my gosh, Santa, what are you doing here? It's only May. It's not time for Operation Santa.
Anytime is a good time to spread joy and cheer.
What are you talking about?
You know, love thy neighbor.
What a great idea that was. Operation Love Thy Neighbor. This is a wonderful way to get people in the community excited about helping each other. I'm sure the commissioners would want to get involved, and the staff here at the county. We've got property owners, citizens, everybody wants to help. But who would this help, Selena?
Well, the program would help any Currituck County citizen who has been affected financially by the coronavirus. And 100% of the tax-deductible donation could go to help our families and help supplement food for those that have been affected. But Samantha, since you're so good with Operation Santa, how could they make a tax-deductible donation to this program?
Donations are being accepted now. You can pay through our website via the PayPal with a credit card. You can pay with a check made out to the County of Currituck. You can mail those into the Department of Social Services, or you can place your check in our drop box that's located outside of our building.
Girls, Santa did have a great idea. Operation Love Thy Neighbor. Ho, ho, ho! And Mr. Chairman, that's my comment for the night, and I hope everybody will see it in their heart to help thy neighbor.
Thank you. I do have to say you look better sitting here than me, by the way. Good job, ladies. Commissioner Beaumont.
Nothing this evening, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner McCord.
I just would like to say, I'm very sorry for the family that lost their house on Sunday in Corova. The fire department, by the time, and their response was extremely quick. I was actually working patrol that day, and everybody got out there, but it was so engulfed. But like I said, condolences to the family for losing their home. I'm glad they got out safe. As far as the new cases, I just wanted to touch on that. Like Commissioner Payment said, the one active case we have came out of Virginia. I don't know how much we can say for HIPAA, but I'm not saying no residents' names or anything like that. But as far as we keep hearing of, y'all let the non-resident property owners in and so forth and so on. I've worked that bridge every day. I worked 29 out of 30 days in April for the Sheriff's Department. 29 days I put that uniform on and got in that car. I was either on the boat, the bridge, or working the roads. So we're seeing it. And far as the people, Sunday was beautiful. There were so many people in 2 hours and 5 minutes of me working the bridge. The county manager went by. Commissioner Jarvis went by. Commissioner White's wife went by. There were so many Currituck people that came through because people were making comments on social media, which is, they can say whatever on that cell phone or the computer, not to somebody's face. But I turned away, I kept the stat. We turned away 38 people in 38 vehicles in 2 hours of me being there. And that's not counting what they're turning away. Those guys from DARE, they do a phenomenal job at the bridge. We have a couple officers there helping. We have a couple at the checkpoint at Pine Island. To the individual's comment, if they get through the checkpoint in Currituck and DARE at the bridge and they have all the proper paperwork, they could also come through Mans Harbor that way through that bridge. And, that's DARE. We're relying on DARE to assist us because some people do come that way to go from Raleigh, from Greenville, to go to Corrales. So the checkpoint in Pine Island works as well because we're making sure those passes are proper and all the paperwork that they're supposed to have is coming through that way. And I'd like to thank DARE, the sheriff's office, as well as their sheriff, for all that they've done. Emergency management, Mary Beth is awesome. I've called her so many times. She helped a family this weekend, super nice, from Richmond. it amazed me because I would have them put their driver's license up to the window, which was closed, when they showed their pass and they flipped the back around. There's so many people that are coming from Virginia Beach, from Yorktown, from Raleigh, Greenville. So, you know, it's not like everybody you keep seeing on social media, they're coming from New York or they're coming from New Jersey or, you know, and some of them are coming from those areas. So, but like I said, it's, you know, do your homework. If you're not there working the bridge, you don't know who's coming in and who's getting turned around. So, and like I said, the comments on the social media. As far as protecting, if you need to wear a mask, wear a mask. As far as gloves, wash your hands. I wash my hands so many times in a day, they hurt. My two least favorite words probably, social distancing. Make sure you practice that. I'd also like to thank our Senator Bob Steinberg because our state has not been posting recoveries at all. We talked about it for not last meeting, the meeting before, and Senator Steinberg has started posting on social media all of the recoveries. There's a lot of them, like Commissioner Payment said tonight. And like I said, for the elderly and stuff like that, there's so many programs in this county. If you have a weak immune system or whatever, as far as delivering stuff to their house, we do it for the Sheriff's Department. I've had to take something to somebody's house. I'm not advertising that we do that, so please don't call dispatch tomorrow. But, I mean, we've had to do it before sometimes on some rare occasions. And like I said, social services, as far as giving, you know, rides and the stuff that we do, everybody's putting in and doing their 2 cents worth, and we should be thankful for all that everybody is doing, and thankful that we don't have a lot of cases. And I'll be glad. I was hoping Santa was going to drop off the vaccine in that bag. I was getting excited, but, you know, like I said, just practice all the stuff that you're supposed to and wash your hands and all that good stuff. And thank everybody for all the hard work they do, the guys that are out there every day and gals. And we're very fortunate to live here for the services we have, the amenities we have. You know, so that's it.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Etheridge.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Over the last 2 weeks since we met last, the county has lost several people who meant a lot to this county. And they were members of the county family, staff family, and none of them from COVID, but from natural causes. And keep those people in mind. And regardless of what people have said, I've got a lot of comments in the years that I've served on this board, but the last 2 weeks, I've never seen anything like it. Either, as Chairman White and I were talking the other day, we're either rock stars to some people or we're SOBs to others. But we do take seriously what we're trying to do to help this county. Because, folks, we depend on tourism, but we also depend on people having good health. And we take that very seriously. And I know for myself, and I'm sure for the other commissioners, we all get on our knees at night and ask the good Lord to look after Currituck County and each other. And please keep that in mind. We're only human. We're apt to make mistakes, but we're trying to do the very best we can. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Jarvis.
Thank you. In March of 1980, Congress first declared a National Teachers' Day. In 1985, the National PTA established Teacher Appreciation Week for the first full week of May. During this pandemic, as schools have moved to online platforms and at-home learning, teacher appreciation couldn't be higher. For 30 years as a teacher, I look forward to this week of free breakfast and lunch treats, small, clever trinkets left in my mailbox, and daily reminders that teachers were important. But the reality is this is too little, too infrequently for our teachers. While many people incorrectly believe that school is over, our teachers and support staff are continuing to work harder than ever to keep learning going. They're posting lessons, holding virtual classes, calling their students to check on them, and helping to foster this sense of community and love with home drive-bys, senior recognition, and other means to show how much they care. A thank you means so much. And it's so simple and cost efficient, and it means more than most people will ever know. I know I'm especially thankful for teachers Mrs. Flake, Mr. Kelly, and Dr. Claire Mamola. But most importantly, I'm thankful to my first teacher and my mother, Joan Sells, for making me want to be the teacher she was and always trying to be the teacher that is the best teacher in the building. So happy National Teacher Appreciation Week. And I also would like to say, I hope you will consider helping our neighbors. Operation Love Thy Neighbor is only going to be successful for those people to open up their hearts and truly give to help make everybody's life a little easier during this COVID. And finally, one more shout out. Sorry to be so long.
Okay.
I want to give a shout out to Miss Carrie Simpson. She began a Facebook page for our seniors here in the county called Adopt a 2020 Senior. It is for members of the community to adopt one of our graduating seniors from either Knapp High School or Currituck County High School, and to show a little bit of love and appreciation for these seniors that are missing out on so many important milestones. So thank you, Ms. Simpson, for going above and beyond and helping us to recognize our 2020 seniors. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and I just want to address a couple things that were in the email. You hit on it, and so did Commissioner McCord, about the new cases. They didn't come from visitors. This was local, homegrown COVID, if you will. We haven't seen a spike because we allowed the non-resident property owners to come in here as was feared. We don't do backroom deals, and we hear that all the time. But we cannot have meetings every time we need to do something. So we have our regular scheduled meetings. If something's very important, we can have a special meeting or an emergency meeting for the Board of Commissioners to deal with that. So while we may edit the order, it's not done in a backroom deal. We talk to each other. Before I do anything, I talk to the entire board here to make sure that they're on board with something that I may do that affects this county, but that authority rests with me. So I just want to reemphasize that these things are not taking place. It just doesn't happen. We're out there all the time talking to people and hearing things, so we always have different information coming at us, and we're always discussing different stuff. And yes, that does happen behind the scenes because that's what needs to happen, as we cannot always come forward for a public meeting. I also, I'll discuss that a little bit later. So that's it for me. Thank you all. And at this time, I'll hand it over to the county manager for his report.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Just want to hit on a couple of things related to the COVID-19 crisis that we're going through. First of all, just to let the board know, we've had some questions about weddings at the wellhead. We've got a lot of weddings. We're getting into wedding season now. We're going to work through that administratively, and if a wedding can't happen because of a state restriction, either on a mass gathering or if because of a local restriction, we're going to be refunding those monies to folks. So just if you get any phone calls or emails, make sure to just have them reach out to staff, to Tamron. We'll work through any refunds that we need to grant. I think it's important to understand that when people can't receive the services that they've contractually signed up for, that we need to refund that money to them. So we're going to try to work with everybody that we can to get through that.
I was going to say, if I could add, I believe 2 have been canceled so far, and there's 2 more, because we have the sign-up sheet of the sheriff's office. There's 2 more coming up between now and Memorial Day, I believe, so it's a total of 4.
Yep, so we've had 2 that canceled. One of the ones that's coming up has also canceled. So, and for the folks that are having those weddings, there's a lot of background work that has to go into it, but it's not just affecting them. It also affects a lot of the industries that are built around the weddings at the Wellhead Club. So the florists, the caterers, all of the rental companies for, tents and so forth and so on. So keep them in mind, but we'll continue to work with people as best we can if they want to cancel as we move through the restrictions that are currently in place with the state. The Mid-Currituck Bridge, there's some information that's been put out that it's been delayed based on funding. I've got calls in with the state of North Carolina to try to figure that out, because the Mid-Currituck Bridge is actually supposed to be totally funded by federal funds and by the tolls that would come in and pay the debt back that would be borrowed in order to build that bridge. So trying to get some clarification from the Department of Transportation on why that was pushed back because of funding. I understand there are other challenges that it faces. Obviously, there's a lawsuit that it's in, but wanting some clarification. As soon as I get that, I'll get that information out to the rest of the board. As far as permits that we've distributed for non-resident property owners, in February, every 2 years we mail passes to people. That's for hurricane season typically. So we've mailed 4,983 passes in February. Between April 21st and 24th, we distributed approximately 1,000 additional passes. And then since April 24th, we've done another additional 1,000. So all told, roughly 7,000 permits in total. Those extra permits are coming from either people who've lost them or people who are traveling down with family. One of the ways that we worked with Dare County to make sure that our non-resident property owners could get through the checkpoint was to make sure that you had to have a pass to come through to cut down on how much interaction needed to occur between the law enforcement officers and the folks who are coming through the checkpoint. So we've given some extra passes to people who had maybe a child coming down with them or another family member who was following them down. One other update that's not COVID related but deals more with the Hurricane Dorian that came through in September. We've got a couple of projects that are still floating around, trying to get repaired, working through FEMA. Both of those are actually bulkhead projects. One of them is at the CCRC at the Rural Center. One of them is in Currituck. FEMA has taken an exceptionally long amount of time to get back to us as to what they're going to pay to repair those bulkheads. I'm going to try to say this as politely as I can, but we started off with one group of FEMA employees that were actually here because of Matthew, and so they were kind of part-time, temporary FEMA folks, I think. And then as things transpired, it shifted to a different set of FEMA folks, and so they had to come in and recertify the things that hadn't been completed yet, the bulkhead being one of those. Preliminary drawings have been done on the bulkhead in Currituck. The rough timeline for that is going to be approximately the end of August, 1st of September, to have it totally repaired. They've got to do final design work, and then it'll take roughly a month and a half to do the construction. One of the things we're trying to work through on that, now that FEMA has come out and said that they will fund essentially the insurance deductible, insurance will cover the rest. We were hopeful that FEMA would cover some mitigation improvements so that we could build that bulkhead back stronger than it was, because obviously it failed for a reason. But they denied that claim, so the county is either going to have to come out of pocket to put it in a better condition than it was before, or we're going to have to build it back the way it was. We're going to go ahead and do the design with the better conditions with an alternate, so that whenever we go out to bid, we can do either or. So those are just two kind of projects I wanted to kind of update you all on from Dorian. I know you've had some questions on the bulkheads. Initially, we were shooting for a June 1st completion time for the bulkhead in Currituck, especially because I know it gets a lot of use, but there's just, had to wait on FEMA to approve it. If we had moved forward without FEMA approval, we would not have been eligible for any FEMA reimbursements on that project at all.
So the process began immediately after Dorian.
Yeah, so, I mean, within 2 or 3 days after Dorian, FEMA was here. We took them and showed them all of the county facilities that had any kind of damage. Both of those bulkheads were in that list of things. We got down to a certain point in the road with the FEMA staff with the one group. Then they backed out, so then we had another group that we had to take and educate them on the project. The previous group actually was kind of leaning towards letting us use some mitigation money to make improvements to the bulkhead. The second group, and the ones that we're currently with that we have to kind of follow their decision, have said that we've got to go back with it just like it was before, which is a little frustrating, because if we could build it back better, the next time a storm comes through, it potentially wouldn't fail again, you know. But that's where we're at. So, yeah, I mean, as soon as the ball started rolling within a day or two after Dorian, it's just you're waiting on the federal government to sign off on certain things. And so that's the process that's been through. And bulkheads are treated a little differently than other critical infrastructure. FEMA will move pretty quickly if you have like a water plant that's damaged or a sewer plant. And we obviously reached out to them and let them know the importance of the bulkheads at both of those facilities to our community, but they have a way of looking at things in a big picture, not really concerned about how the community feels always. So, and that's all that I've got this evening, Mr. Chairman.
And the CCRC bulkhead update, is that?
That one's going to move through a little bit slower. It doesn't have the use. We're still in preliminary designs to get that design completed. But in both cases, FEMA has now answered our question as to how much they're going to pay for each project. So basically just covering the insurance deductible on both of those.
I understand that yesterday there were some jet skis and boats tied up to the dock that's leaning over. Is there anything we can do in terms of signage saying?
We had caution tape around it.
Caution tape there was due to we've had some couple 50, 60 mile per hour winds past. And like I said, I've rode by 10 times in the month of April, but it's roughly about probably 24 to 28 feet of area that's bad. The farthest, I guess, east point, there's probably 30 foot of it that's in good shape. And the jet skis, I always see them parked at that far end. And then the western port, closer back towards Knott's Island, there's probably 30 to 40 feet. It's about the same. I mean, but that one in the middle, it's dangerous. And there is a little bit of yellow caution tape. I mean, we could re-put that back.
Yeah, we
on
can
there.
send some up there and get either the fire department or the sheriff's office.
I'll be in the boat tomorrow, so I'll take tape.
to
got
tape
that
it back
early.
off. So just like Kevin was saying, the elements out there, it
says
blows, and so that's.
We have some of the sheriff's department. It says caution on. I'll tape
Okay.
it off tomorrow when we're out there tomorrow.
Thank you.
There we go. Thank you. Anything further for the manager?
Public safety.
All right, thank you. Next item on the agenda tonight is public hearing. Item A, PB 19-17, Baxter Station. We're going to have to move this one up to our next meeting, which would be 18th. So, well, I'll move this to our next meeting on May the 18th to be heard at that time, if we can do so. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. New business, item A, discussion, travel restrictions, and coordination efforts with Dare County to reopen the Outer Banks. I asked to have this put on just so we could kind of inform people and have a little discussion here tonight. Obviously, it's forefront. We've seen a lot of emails about this. Before we delve into it a little bit, though, we've got an email from I got an email, and so did most of the board, I guess, from Rick Blair. One of the things he asked about was recusal from commissioners. We covered this last meeting. We can cover it again. Myself and Commissioner Beaumont own rental properties on the Outer Banks, one each. If we make a decision to open the Outer Banks, we are allowed to do so because it is something that affects the entire county. It is not something that we are directly going to profit from in a microcosm. Is that an accurate kind of generic summation, Mr. McCree?
That's correct, and at your last meeting, I gave you my opinion that you should participate in a vote. That would be my same opinion tonight. It's important to note, as I sent out an email in response to similar claims made after your last meeting, that there was not even a vote taken.
Right.
At your last meeting. It was just a consensus of the board, and you as chairman have the authority under the county's emergency management ordinance to declare a state of emergency and what prohibitions or restrictions might be necessary.
But further, I own a business on the Outer Banks. Ostensibly, I would make money if we reopen, but I think it's important to note that the date that we reopen doesn't necessarily mean that I can open my business. So Currituck County deciding to open to visitors does not mean that all the businesses can open. Those are set by the state. In Phase 1, there's certain types of businesses that can be open in different capacities. Phase 2, there's different businesses that can be open in whatever capacities. And then again in Phase 3, when we just go back to kind of business as normal. So even in that capacity, my vote tonight, well, we're not actually here to vote tonight, but it is allowed. Is that accurate as well, sir?
Yes, like you noted, and I said at the last meeting, it's much like a continuum. I mean, you need to make a determination, as you just stated, among other things, how many people might be affected by your participation in the vote. Is it just the commissioner, him or herself, or is it a large segment of the population? And again, as you stated, it's clearly a decision as to when to reopen the Outer Banks to Currituck Outer Banks to visitors. Is not just impacting you as an individual commissioner, but will have a potential impact upon thousands of persons. So just based upon that alone, If there is a vote, it again is my opinion that under the general statutes, you would be required to participate in the vote.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so under this travel restriction coordination efforts with Dare County, last meeting we decided to open up a little bit earlier, and we saw newspaper articles that the board we weren't working with Dare County. And to that end, that is true. I have had conversations with their chairman. Our manager has conversations with their manager. I was talking to him about what we would be doing, what my thoughts were on opening May 1, and I had talked to the entire board about that, and was just relaying that to them to keep them in the loop as to what we were discussing, again, behind the scenes, and then we had an open discussion that evening. The board decided it was in its best interest, or the county's best interest, to allow non-resident property owners in at an earlier time. So yes, Dare County was caught off guard by that decision, but this board is not beholden to Dare County. We do what is best for us, as they do what is best for them. Often they do not consult with us when they close the bridge. So somehow it's not okay for us not to consult with them, but they can do the opposite to us. So to that end, I have had multiple conversations. Myself and the county manager have sat down with their county manager and chair to discuss a coordinated reopening effort. In this case, when we allow visitors in, it's a much bigger picture issue. It deals with a large volume of people, and a coordinated effort needs to be brought forward because of the impacts of the bridge, the traffic restrictions, dealing with deputies there, checking people in, checking people out. What we do affects them, and what they do affects us. So when we bring people in, those people are going to go to Dare County. When they bring people into Dare, they're going to come to Corolla. It's a great symbiotic relationship, and to that end, I've tried to work with them and keep that door open so that we can, and hopefully in the future, work together and have much more open conversation between the two counties on things that affect us. And so I wanted to bring that to light tonight, and also just generally talk with the board. We've had talks about, I don't think it's any great secret that May 22nd, 23rd, somewhere in that time frame, we are looking around the Memorial Day weekend to reopen our counties. And that has not been decided just yet. We are looking for guidance from the governor at this point and what he's going to do. Phase 1 is set to kick off basically on May 9th, which would be the end of the stay-at-home order and allow some businesses to reopen. And then Phase 2 right now is projected to go into effect May 25th, Memorial Day, which would allow restaurants and other places to open up in whatever capacity the governor sets forth. One of the things that was brought forward in an email was, what do you use and how do you determine these things? Well, we don't have to be experts in it because we have experts. We have North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services to guide us, what the governor's put out, what the national regulations have put out, and those things when we make our determination as to when it's best for us to open up, both for the people that live here and for economic purposes. Both of those things, as Commissioner Etheridge said tonight, are foremost in our thoughts, the safety and welfare of our citizens, both physically and financially. So, we've had a lot of discussion about that, and those decisions are not made lightly. And one of the things, another email I've got, and probably you guys have seen it too, is about masks. Dare County is requiring people to wear masks, and that is something that I said I would ask this board tonight, if and when we reopen to visitors, if that is something this board wanted to do, was to implement a mask policy or a glove policy or any of those other things. It seems to me most places are just kind of 50-50 as to whether they have them or not. It is a discussion, though, that I think is worthy of us having. I don't know how
it would be extremely hard to enforce if we're having to check all those passports. I mean, are we, like I said, it's, I think it would be extremely, if you have health issues, wear a mask. If you're elderly and you're, whatever, I personally have had to go in the hospital a couple times, and I had to go in the nursing home the other day. We had a call there, and they suited us up and everything, and we had no issue with it. But, as far as to go to somewhere, if you're buying some, whatever it is, like I said, if the stores are not letting but a certain amount of people in them anyway, I don't know how you'd enforce it.
Well, I'm just going to agree with Commissioner McCord there. I did some traveling to the Outer Banks and went in a couple larger chains, And I noticed after the order was put in place, I asked why people weren't wearing masks, and the comment I was given from the individuals working there was, well, it's up to you whether you want to wear it or not. You're not going to get ticketed for it. Nobody's policing it. So I said, okay. So I'm just, it's just going to be hard to police them.
I do think it's going to be hard to police, but I think, we should encourage people to wear masks because it doesn't just protect you, it protects other people as well. And, I think even a bandana over your nose and mouth is a good idea. I think we should encourage it. Going a little further to require it, to me, it's not enforceable. We have other things that our sheriff department has to focus on besides being the mask police. But I do think strongly encouraging everybody to wear a mask would help reduce the spread of this virus.
Well, I don't think any of us wants to see a video like I saw this morning where in New York City, a police officer beating on somebody because they were not socially distancing themselves correctly. And that comes down to a police state type of mentality.
No, the employers have got to take some responsibility. For my business, all my technicians have masks, gloves, and sanitizer for their hands. So out of respect, I respect my customers, and but like Commissioner Jarvis stated, right? I mean, everybody's got to take responsibility. It's probably best to have that wear it, and you know what to do out there.
Well, people have to accept some personal responsibility in this also.
Okay. Uh-oh.
Don't touch you, uh-oh me. A couple things, and I think Commissioner Payment and Commissioner McCord kind of nailed it. And that's, if you're in the susceptible group, you have a personal responsibility, first of all, whether or not you go out in the first place. And second of all, you need to wear as much protective gear as you personally feel that you need to try and ensure your safety. But a couple of things, and Battle Bets told us last meeting, that this is a virus. And viruses, and God bless social media. And no, I'm not a doctor and I don't play one on TV. But the reality is viruses are here for life. They will never go away. They will always be with us. And, we could wear masks for the next 5 years, and year 6, there's a virus, the COVID virus is sitting on the countertop, and away we go. We've heard talk about vaccines, and there are people, and I've seen it, that we should not open this county until there's a vaccine ready to issue. Comment on vaccines. Number one, they're talking about potentially initially starting human test trials on it, but just because you have a vaccination does not mean that you're protected against the virus. And antibodies wear off, they go away, and that's why in many times you have to be tested on your antibody level to make sure that for whatever vaccination you're about to get, that A, you need it, or B, find out if you're even protected even though you had been vaccinated. So I think a lot of things we're going to see in society, and if COVID did anything, it reminded us what our parents told us when we were little kids. Wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands. Yeah. The virus is here to stay. And if you're in that danger group and you don't have the antibodies, you need to protect yourself. And I would encourage each and every resident of the county out there. And then secondly, as a business owner, let me rephrase that, if I were a business owner, I believe that they should be given the authority to determine what constitutes a valid patron in their business. If they want to require masks for everyone that comes in the store, God bless them. I think that's perfect for them. Do I want to mandate to them how they conduct their business? No, I don't. I think, for those that are concerned, please wear a mask. Absolutely. Please wear a mask. Wash your hands, sanitize, do all that kind of stuff. But keep in mind, it's not just your mask. I mean, technically, if you want to go down that path, you should be changing your clothes after you go into each and every place, because that virus could also be on your clothing. So everybody be prudent. Everybody take accountability over your own actions, and watch out for those that are the most susceptible.
Thank you. Comments? Okay.
I'm like Paul. I think it should be personal responsibility. If I'm going somewhere and I'm going to see an elderly person like Owen, I would wear a mask. If somebody comes into my house, you just have to take responsibility. I think the main thing is to wash your hands. That's how you're going to get it. You have hands that touch all these surfaces, and then you put them on your face, and we all touch our face all day long.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty much the kid. Get your hands out of your mouth. Get your hands out of your mouth.
Well, it's like the food line in Moyock, and I assume all the rest of them got the one-way aisles.
Yeah.
Everybody pays attention to it. Their people are not taking responsibility and trying to follow what the store is laid out in terms of safety. I want to comment on the Dare County thing. It's just not the Dare County Commissioners, Mr. Chairman, that you have to deal with. It's the control group, which is made up of each one of the municipalities. Dare County Commissioners might say, yeah, we won't open tomorrow, but the members on that control group can override them. Am I not correct?
That's correct. Thank you for pointing that out. The headline was Dare County is caught off guard, and we place emphasis on Dare County because all these municipalities are in there, but the control group for them is actually what controls what their actions are, and that is made up of members of all the municipalities and Dare County chair, I believe. So,
Mr. Chairman, didn't you say that they were caught off guard? But from my understanding, after we met last on March 31st, did our county manager not call their county manager and tell them what we had decided, and then the next morning they decided May 8th, which was also not what was agreed on. So it wasn't just this board not sticking to the May 1st date. It was their control group as well.
Right.
So it wasn't just a thing of us catching them off guard. They knew before they met what we had decided. Am I not correct?
They did the next morning, yes. And I called the chairman, Bob Woodard, on the way home from that meeting to tell him what had happened tonight, so he knew going into the meeting the next morning what had
So to say that they were off guard is really incorrect.
Well, yeah, I'm just going off the newspaper headline that it was sensationalized that it was caught.
Don't
off
believe
guard.
everything you read.
Did you have something, Dan? You look like
I was just going to confirm, actually, immediately after the meeting, I reached out to the Dare County manager and let him know what the board had decided. And I think part of if I can just make one point, we talked about the openness of the discussion. I mean, part of the reason that we have open meetings and folks are allowed to comment and folks are allowed to watch and listen is so that this group, which was elected to represent all of the citizens of Currituck County, can give guidance and then move forward. So while it may be well and good to say, well, this might happen or that might happen, until this group gets together and talks about something, you can't give
Right. There's no assurances.
notice ahead of time.
Right.
I mean, you all are the elected officials, so I think it's important to remember that.
I'd like to bring out, and Ben, you may be able to confirm or at least get reasonably close. The overall traffic, despite the sky is falling, the overall traffic when we allowed non-resident property owners to go to their property in the Outer Banks was pretty much a non-event. I mean, I think, Kevin, you were manning the bridge.
Day one, I want to say, most of the cars, the average car was probably, I don't even think it was two people. I was amazed at how many one people were in the car. There was a lot of two. The biggest I saw was a family of five.
Well, I think Commissioner Jarvis and I were out there the first day.
Yeah.
Just kind of monitoring, looking, and it wasn't, I don't think it was that.
No backup, certainly.
And
Most of it was two people.
And I know the grocery stores, you saw a full tractor trailer headed to Harris Teeter's in Corolla and a full
Walmart.
tractor trailer going to Food Line in Corolla.
The vehicles, when they were coming through here too, and everybody kept saying they're buying all our supplies in Currituck County and Grandy and Mayock, we don't have a Walmart in Currituck County. I'm 1,000% positive of that. And I saw a lot of Walmart bags, unless our Food Line's giving Walmart bags out. So, I looked in a lot of vehicles. I looked to see what they were bringing. A lot of tools, a lot of stuff like that to fix their stuff.
And the point, I think the point there is, we heard the needs for these people to get their houses ready for whatever reason, or make sure that their properties were okay. We've had several significant weather events since probably the last time they were down here. And we got to remember, they are property owners. And, for whatever reason, and I get it, national state of emergency or state's declaration of a state of emergency. But the reality is, these are people that bought property in this county, and for whatever, during that set of circumstances, they were not allowed to actually utilize their property. And I applaud this board for going forth with that. One thing that one of the comments mentioned, and I don't know how, and maybe Larry could reach out to Harris Teeters and or Food Lion. And my mom lives in Florida, South Florida, which is one of the counties of, oh my God, because of the significant number of people Owen's age that live down there. And actually, I'll use my mom's because she's actually older than Owen.
Oh, one day you'll be there.
Not far
Oh,
off.
God help us all. But they actually have, and it's pretty darn neat, they have like an hour in the morning once a week where only seniors, and I believe it's over the age of 65, and they have to prove how old they are in order to have access. And I don't know if they'd be open to that, but I think that is an outstanding idea. And they don't let anyone in but those that qualify.
They do it at Food Line in Moyock and Grandy.
Yeah.
Where?
They're doing it at Walmart.
Yeah.
which I
We're
know
doing
you
it
don't have.
at
They
Food
do
Line
it-
in Moyock
Yeah.
and Grandy.
Okay, well,
I believe they're doing it in Corolla as well.
I believe they are too.
see? Great idea.
I don't know how.
Somebody stole your idea.
And just
No
so
wonder
the-
they wouldn't let my son in.
and I said this at the last meeting, just so the board's aware, we did have Larry reach out to the managers of both of the Corolla grocery stores, talk to them about how they felt about operationally. They said that, they needed some time to get the shelves stocked, to get as much, inventory in as they could. Obviously, there's going to be things that are missing, paper products, cleaning products, the same things that are missing in grocery stores across the entire country. That's not going to change because of the population over there. It just is what it is. The other thing that they have some concern about, and they're trying to work through it, is they depend heavily on J1 workers, which are workers from other countries that come in to our county in the summertime and work for a period of time. So they're trying to find workforce, and that will be a challenge, probably not just for the grocery stores, but for all of our businesses on the Outer Banks. So just for the folks out there watching, if you know somebody unemployed, as visitors start to come back, I think there will be jobs available in a lot of these service industries for folks who want to get back into the workforce.
And then one other thing that I heard of, my wife saw signs for, and that's there are folks that have businesses in Corolla who actually put out signs, thank you, we're glad you're here. And we need to remember, as a county, our visitors, become our family for typically a week. And we need to treat them with the respect that, they deserve. They help fund this county. And while it's not all about money, when it comes to funding government services and some of the benefits that we enjoy, we need to be thanking these folks for throughout this trying time. And anyone, we've had it pretty darn nice when it comes to a county in a rural environment. When you think about where some of these people have had to live, hold up in an apartment, typically, or a condominium or a house, and not be allowed to go anywhere, you know what? Thank God, we live in a county like this, and we need to be grateful and show them what Currituck's all about. And I would encourage all of our residents to do the same.
And to that point, it's our non-resident property owners. Probably the biggest reason they bought here was an experience they had here. They came down here maybe as a visitor or for whatever reason and had an experience here. And they are as much a part of the fabric of this county, especially Corolla, as anyone else. They come down here. They love to be here. Maybe their favorite place is to go to North Banks and see Brady or Dave at the bar, or Cindy, the owner, or go to Ike's to talk sports, or Sundogs to talk sports with the guys that are there. And, there has been a lot of anger directed at these people that are very much a part of we get to know them. They come in enough. When I had my craft beer store, they came in, they hung out, they came back, we knew who they were. And to alienate them is just, it's reprehensible, the behavior.
It's just like you said, I was at the bridge and a girl came up and she had her North Carolina driver's license. She'd gotten in a wreck and they gave her a New York rental car. So, I mean, you know, I mean, the worst, I mean, not knocking the state of New York, but I mean, like, there's vehicles that were on the beach this weekend that people were coming through. It might be a work truck that has Virginia tags, and they work in Chesapeake or Virginia Beach.
The military presence.
Yeah, the military presence here is, and they have their, and I'll tell you what, one of the hardest things that I've had to do when we worked that bridge is turn somebody away that's in the military because they couldn't go to Hatteras, and they said they didn't know. You know, I mean, they fight for our country and our freedom. And, you know, my lieutenant said, leave your, what's his saying? Leave your heart in the glove box, and the rules are the rules. And that's what we've had to do at the bridge. And it's not fun, but it's worked. And, you know, and like I said, for somebody to put that note on somebody's car from Dare County, I mean, I'm just not even going to say nothing because this is on TV. But
well, and to make a note, I mean, the good point there are a lot of contractors, businesses that come out of Virginia Beach and come out of Pasquotank County and points west of us that travel through here to the Outer Banks on a daily basis. And those are some high impacted areas, and they've been doing that for months. So just I mean, yeah, but it is.
And you think about the people that come through, look at the markets they stop at and how they support the local markets. You know, for people to act like they don't want people here breaks my heart, because that's not what Currituck's about.
not at all.
I've talked to people that drive all the way back over here to get corn.
Right.
You know, they might go to Harvey when he gets it right this year. But anyway, you know, they come back. They love hitting the farm markets coming through here. They each have their own, whether it's pals
They
or
stop
boys
in
or,
restaurants,
Yeah.
and, you know, they're just people that spend money. They stop at the Sanctuary Vineyards.
Perfect scenario, like she said, the love thy neighbor thing. Eagle Creek, Tim Posh, who owns Eagle Creek Golf Course, he had Coinjock Marina's food truck in his parking lot. They had a big thing in their neighborhood, and they slayed it. The food truck slayed it. Joe Gorza, who has the thing at the end of Brumsey Road. There's my lemonade that I dumped in there from the cup earlier that I got when I went by. But, you know, those guys, I mean, he had all those people in his parking lot. He had a business, and he stayed busy that night as well as did all the other ones. My family's ate out 50 nights out of 60, you know.
But what's so sad,
Tried your cooking.
Yeah, that's right.
what to me is so sad when you've got people, 2 or 3 people who write ugly things on Facebook, who put signs on somebody's car, could give a county a bad name, and that's not what the majority of the people in Currituck County are about, or Dare County.
Well, it goes back to what Paul said, family. That's what built that beach, is a family-oriented beach.
Yep.
And we have always thought, because I've been around since the beginning almost, because I was on the planning board in '82 when everything started.
After the War of 1812.
That's right. And, you know, they are family, and we need to recognize that and be appreciative of the investment that they have made in Currituck County, because, like Paul said, we reap the benefits of the services that we're able to provide that I dare say any other county in North Carolina, rural in nature, can provide that we do. And, Mr. Chairman, I think it's important also to talk about why we need to coordinate with Dare County in terms of they have authority over that road, and explain why that is in place.
Well, it's just local legislation that gave them the authority to dictate those bridges and who can access them. And at this time, you know, we're not part of that. We're just not part of that. So
But we are actively looking into correcting that, or we're having discussions to
right,
see if we can.
and that's part of the reason I've been having discussions with them, with the county manager, is for us to hopefully have a seat at the table, and be part of that discussion, and they recognize that, you know, we all, between us, Hyde, and Dare, we all affect one another, and we all need to be at that table having that discussion and be part of that control group. So, you know, and it's in that spirit that we're trying to work with them now to get there. So I do want to, a couple other things that came up in emails that I just thought about. People say we're not following the governor's order. And nothing in the governor's orders prohibit us from having visitors right now. That is an action we took locally. We can be open to visitors right now. We recognize that when this came around, we needed, just like the nation did, to take a break, take a pause, understand what needed to take place. Now we understand that, you need social distancing, Kevin's favorite phrase, personal protective equipment if you need it, wear it, and it is personal responsibility, but and just to change our habits and the way that we do things and washing our hands and all of that. And so, in closing for me on this subject, I think, we're going to have an announcement within a day or two. We fully expect that the governor is going to be making an announcement, maybe as early as tomorrow, with when Phase 1 will kick in, and his travel restrictions, stay at home, will be lifted, and then we can have a conversation with DARE and hopefully jointly put out some messaging and set that date. As I said, the 22nd right now is the date that's kind of been kicked around, Memorial Day weekend. It is kind of the official beginning of unofficial beginning of summer for most people, and I would hate to see us not be open by then, and I'm certain that we will be open by then. I don't see us going any further than that. As I said, nothing in the governor's order at this time prohibits us. Please keep in mind, when we do open up, whenever that date is, that does not mean your business can necessarily open. You need to know what businesses are allowed and what capacity that is. I've gotten emails, and I'm sure other board members have, that we need to open up for this, that, or the other. Well, that doesn't mean your business is going to be allowed to be open. Certain types of businesses are not allowed to open. However, there are exceptions, and you can ask the Department of Revenue for an exception, and they apparently are granting a lot of them. So if you have an outdoor seating area, you may want to hit the Department of Revenue up and see if you can get granted special access to open your business, because you can demonstrate that you can social distance in there, and whatever their benchmarks are for allowing these businesses to open. I don't have anything further on this.
Like I said, I like to say, too, for the county as a whole, everybody's done the traffic. It's not out there. I mean, we work the weekends. There's not cars. You can park right at the end of Bells Island Road at the feed and seed store and look right and look left at 7 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday and Sunday. You might not see a vehicle for 60 seconds, and that never happens. But everybody's done well as far as the citizens, the staff, and everything, as far as trying to abide by the rules. And that's kudos to the county as a whole.
Mr. Chairman, can I just say that there are a lot of people who are scared, and there are a lot of people who are worried, and they're worried about their loved ones. And I think if you ask 10 people, you will get 10 different answers as to what our actions should be. But I would really ask that all people be kind, and even if someone doesn't agree with you, even if you don't agree with our actions, try to understand, and that's why we've spent this time talking about what we're planning on doing. Not to get everybody to agree, but simply to understand that we're weighing everybody's best interest. I know you and Paul have both gotten a lot of flack because you happen to own a house, but the decisions aren't made personally here. It's not about personal gain or personal well-being. We deliberate, we read those emails, we take those phone calls, we respond to messages, and I think that people have to understand that there's no easy decision here, and that's why we're having these discussions. So I think that that's the good part. Even if people don't understand why we have these discussions, that's why we're doing it.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, just one point of clarity just for folks who are watching the meeting and for the board. I know that you all are aware of this, but one small thing that did change in our last state of emergency, we did restrict new campers from coming into campgrounds in Currituck County. So in the past, all we've ever really been concerned with are visitors to our Outer Banks, because typically it's hurricane related. In this case, because it's a public health crisis, we have restricted that. So if you were not in a campground as of prior to April 27th, you cannot come and camp in Currituck County, either on the Outer Banks or on the mainland. Since we don't have any hotels or really rental homes on the mainland, the focus is really on campgrounds on the mainland.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Is it, would this board consider, some form of a resolution, to the governor? Basically, President Trump talked about delegating opening authority to the states and the counties, and he was very specific in including the counties in that comment, but asking the governor to give us the authority to decide when and how this county opens. Clearly, we are far more in tune with our community than he is, and just basically suggesting that we have, due to our rural nature, that let us decide.
I don't think we could get a resolution together in a timely manner. However, we could probably do a letter from the board, or myself.
That would be fine.
Expressing our concerns and willingness to control our own destiny. We could certainly do that if that's something the board would like to see.
I'm sure with that.
We've seen some other counties do that. Okay. All right, so we can have Ike or Leanne draft something for me, and I'll sign it, and we'll send it off.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on. Item B, discussion and consideration of request to construct a fire training facility on county-owned property in Corolla. Mr. Ben.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is really for discussion purposes. The property that is the old Pine Island water plant behind the Pine Island Fire Station, and then I believe there's a map in your agenda packages that lays out where they would want to do this. It is essentially in the northeast corner of that property. The Corolla Volunteer Fire Department would like to construct a training facility there so that the firefighters in Corolla, the volunteer firefighters, and potentially firefighters even from Dare County, I would imagine, could come and do some fire training. There are a couple of things that I, as the manager, have just really minimal concerns about. The first off, and what I recommended in the agenda package, was further consideration with a community meeting with the folks in Corolla. These are typically 2 or 3 story structures because you want to be able to practice internal attack on fires in multiple stories. So when we want to engage the community that is around that property, which is kind of near the Currituck Club, Pine Island communities, talk to them about how they feel about the design that's being proposed. Some of these are built out of, for instance, Connex boxes, and they can look, you can paint them and they can look good, but I think we owe it to that community once we can have some community meetings to be able to reach out to them and do that. And the other thing is I really need to, there is a limited amount of property in the Currituck Outer Banks that the county has access to. Mm-hmm. And so the question I think that I'd like for you all to think about as I go to the community and get some opinions from them, is that the best use of county-owned property in Corolla? Or, and not saying that Corolla Fire Department need to do it, if at some point a fire training facility makes sense, does it make more sense to have a fire training facility, for instance, at the Public Safety Building, which we're trying to turn into a regional hub for training? Now, there's nothing that says you can't have 2 fire training facilities in a county.
But I thought we were talking about building a burn house, possibly at the central location over here.
Yeah, I think at some point that's something that is definitely going to, I would recommend building there. Now,
because right now you either got to go down to Buxton or Virginia Beach. So even by building a burn house or training facility in the Maple area would benefit the entire county.
Benefit the entire region,
yeah. Yes, I mean, and we could outsource that as well. So, I mean, if we're going to put our efforts in, I'd like to build something nice and a good one that we can all use.
In discussions with Chief Shortway, this is not nearly going to be the level of sophistication or technical capability that would be at the Maple Center. So it is, the design that he showed me was 2-story. I don't think he intended to have a 3rd story.
The 2-story. Okay.
And it is, I think it's, part of it is, when we look at it, we've got our professional firefighters there, or a large contingent thereof, and with the goal of continuing to encourage volunteer firefighters, it becomes, kind of a easy way to get folks some of the training that they would not ordinarily get without traveling. And the other thing is, it would be done completely on their nickel.
Yeah.
The county's not paying for a dime of it. So, And it would be constructed out of Connex boxes,
I don't know that for
I'm
sure.
going to retract that because I don't necessarily know
That's
but
just
it's
a
not
kind
a
of floated,
stick built.
right.
It's a modular system that's brought in and set up. So if at some point in time the county reached the point where we really need that property for whatever the purpose is,
Could be dismantled.
and that was a absolute categorical, with the understanding that if we, and they understand it, it would be easy to disassemble it, relocate it, whatever. So I think the community meetings are an outstanding idea. Ironically, probably many of those communities have members that are in the volunteer fire department, and but it's important to get buy-in. So I think that's a great idea.
Owen, you may have been on the board. That's one of these. Wasn't there a property adjacent to the fire department that was talked about being available for purchase? Do you remember any of that? Like from Turnpike or
Yeah.
something? They owned a piece across the way.
Yeah, one time it was.
I think it might be important to good reach out to them at this time and maybe open that door and see if it is still available as we talk about this, because like you said, the limited space we have, we've already seen where we can't do the pickup in Corolla anymore. We're having a place, you and I have talked about this, and some of the board members about putting in, a recycling center in Corolla. Right now, I guess this would be the only place we could do that.
Yes, sir.
And there's not much land there for that to happen. So maybe we're talking to them and see if they're still interested in that.
We certainly can reach out to them and see what kind of numbers we're talking about compared. And obviously, this is going to be a refrain you're going to hear from me for the next several months at least.
Right.
We are going to have some serious budget constraints coming up. So where we have had funds in the past to do a lot of capital projects or land purchases and that kind of thing, we are going to be really pinching some pennies over the next year for sure. So no problem reaching out, but we will have limited resources to be able to do something.
I understand, but okay. So I guess we're not doing anything with this right now. We just need to hold a community meeting.
Yeah, once the
2021, we can do that again?
once the social the mass gathering thing is limited or
Okay.
it is increased, I should say.
Right.
We'll schedule something and I can start to reach out to some of the associations that are around there and start to have preliminary conversations, but set up maybe a question and answer session with the volunteer fire department and folks around the community who would be interested in seeing everything.
Would it be safe to say that if the community associations, property owners associations are in agreement, it's something this board would favor?
I know. I
So
think I
we
would.
think-
Yeah.
So
What was
that
your question again? I'm
I
sorry.
said if the community associations were in agreement.
Oh, I believe in any training or anything we can facilitate extra training is a good thing.
So we don't leave them actually out there hanging.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
no, I mean,
right,
yeah.
No, it seems to me that we'd be good with doing something there if the
Yeah.
community supports it.
And from a staff standpoint, we can go ahead and work through some of the details with them awaiting community meetings. For instance, county projects have to go through zoning just like private projects do. And so,
gonna take a
we need to
while,
make sure it
yeah.
has setbacks. We need to make sure it meets aesthetic criteria, the whole ball of wax that everybody gets into. So we can start working through some of that stuff while we wait for the community meeting to take place.
Well, would polling work? Sending out a survey or something rather than a community meeting? I mean,
In this case, because I think that some explanation would I think people are going to have a lot of questions. What is a fire training facility? What does it do? Does it generate smoke? What does it sound like? Is there a smell? I mean, I can just see
right.
where people would have a lot of questions other than just a quick survey. So I think you probably need to have a little
Right.
town hall kind of thing.
All of the above. All right. All right. Good enough. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if we could, I wanted to go back to new business A. I had a question before we moved on.
Okay. I'm sorry.
For clarification purposes, for people that would be maybe looking at this, I'm not sure if they got a clear understanding how we're moving forward with the final date on this. I know we threw out the May 22nd, so are we going to say right now we're leaning to the May 22nd, just so everybody understands that? But that could change this week based on the governor's decisions and some further conversations with their county that this board and the chairman will have. Is that a fair statement?
I think it is. Yep. So we expect to have something out of the governor's office, maybe as early as tomorrow. We'll be in discussions with DARE immediately following any press conference he may hold and dates he puts forward or anything like that. I think the 22nd, as far as I'm understanding this board, is the furthest out we're prepared to go at this point in time.
So if anybody wants to plan out there, the furthest they can plan for would be the 22nd, with possibly, upon further discussions, maybe sooner, but that would be a let through the county's website and other discussions.
Oh, yeah, we'll have a press release on that. We'll be putting.
Okay, I
something
just
on
want,
that.
so people watch us understand, if, I'm not sure if they got a clarity on the date,
And I think
so.
it's important to note, too, on that point, that, we'll, going to the 22nd, or if that's the date, it's going to be further out than tomorrow, obviously.
Absolutely.
So it's going to allow us time to put some good messaging together, to push out to our tourism department and our tourism partners to get that out to the visitor segment that,
And
The
what
county
I've,
manager needs 2 days.
2 days. Yeah.
Well, what I've
Yeah.
heard too is businesses need,
Yeah,
a lot of
businesses need
businesses
time
have
to
said-
prepare, just to restaff, do whatever they need to do. There's a lot of
You're
lot of
welcome.
background work that has to
Okay.
occur. So
Okay,
I
thank
think
you.
this gives them a fair
Just want to make
warning.
sure that we put a little bit of clarification for
I
everybody.
appreciate it. Thank you. Item C, consent agenda. Any questions on the consent agenda tonight?
In here, it's about proclamation for May as Older American Month. I did want to say that the senior citizen building, she is good. She just got a little calendar out telling people what's going on in the county. So the senior citizen department is staying in touch with the senior citizens here in the county. So.
Is this something that Kitty and I need to recuse
Right,
ourselves from?
right. Ike?
I tell you, I get.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Carries unanimously. At this time, we'll recess the regular Board of Commissioners meeting and go into closed session pursuant to GS 143-3, or not recess, I'm sorry, move us into closed session pursuant to GS 143-318.11A3 to consult with the county attorney and to preserve the attorney-client privilege in the matters entitled 85 and Sunny LLC, v. Currituck County, and Allied Properties LLC et al., re. Denise Hall. Can I have a second?
Second that.
You get that, Leanne? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you all.